The security footage played on the 6 o'clock news showed what appeared to be an ordinary Tuesday afternoon at Meridian Financial. Men and women in business attire moved through the sleek lobby, the ambient noise of phones ringing and keyboards clicking a familiar symphony of corporate America. No one noticed when James Wilson, CEO of Meridian, locked eyes with Marcus Reeves, a deaf single father waiting with his 7-year-old daughter. No one saw James's hands move in subtle, deliberate gestures. "Help me, he has a weapon." What happened in the next 3 minutes would change both their lives forever. The morning had started like any other for Marcus Reeves. He woke before his alarm, his body conditioned by years of early rising to care for Lily. His daughter had been born hearing, but an illness at age 4 had taken most of her auditory perception. Since then, they'd navigated the world together through sign language, creating their own little universe of silent communication that felt, to Marcus, more profound than any spoken conversation he'd ever had. "Pancakes or waffles?" Marcus signed to Lily, who sat at their kitchen island swinging her legs. "Pancakes with faces," she signed back enthusiastically, her small hands dancing through the air with an expressiveness that always made Marcus smile. Today was important. Marcus had scheduled a meeting at Meridian Financial to discuss a small business loan. His woodworking shop had been operating out of his garage for 3 years, but orders had increased beyond what he could handle in that space. The loan would mean a proper workshop, hiring an assistant, and most importantly, providing a more stable future for Lily. "We're going to meet a man who might help Daddy's business grow," Marcus explained as they drove downtown. "You brought your drawing pad?" Lily nodded, holding up her backpack. She was used to accompanying her father to meetings. Childcare was expensive, and Marcus's parents lived 3 states away. Most people were understanding once they realized his situation, though he always felt that underlying current of judgment, a single dad who couldn't afford proper childcare, dragging his daughter to business meetings. Marcus rehearsed his pitch in his mind as they entered the gleaming Meridian Financial building. The receptionist smiled warmly at Lily, who was already settling into a corner of the waiting area with her drawing pad. "Mr. Wilson will be with you shortly," the receptionist told Marcus, who nodded his thanks. 15 minutes later, Marcus noticed a shift in the atmosphere. A man had entered wearing a heavy coat despite the warm spring day. His eyes darted nervously around the lobby, his right hand buried deep in his pocket. Something about him raised the hairs on Marcus's neck, a primal warning system honed from years of being Lily's sole protector. From across the lobby, James Wilson emerged from the elevator. The CEO was known for personally meeting with small business loan applicants. It was part of Meridian's community-focused approach that had earned them such loyalty in the city. Marcus had researched him thoroughly, graduated from state with honors, worked his way up from loan officer to CEO in 15 years, started a foundation for financial literacy in underserved communities. What Marcus hadn't known was that James had a deaf brother and was fluent in American Sign Language. As James crossed the lobby toward Marcus, their eyes met. In that instant, James registered the nervous man in the coat. With subtle movements, not drawing attention but clear enough for someone fluent in ASL, James's hands formed. "Help me, he has a weapon." Marcus's heart stopped. His eyes flicked to Lily, peacefully drawing in the corner, unaware of the danger. Then back to James, whose face maintained a professional smile while his hands continued, * security button under reception desk. Distraction needed, *. Without hesitation, Marcus stood and walked toward the reception desk, positioning himself between Lily and the potential threat. He pretended to ask the receptionist a question while his hand found the underside of the counter, feeling for the button James had mentioned. His fingers pressed against a small plastic square. The man in the coat was moving now, approaching James with determination. Marcus knew he had seconds to act. He locked eyes with James again, signing quickly, * on 3. 1, 2, *. On 3, Marcus knocked over a large vase of flowers on the reception counter. The crash echoed through the marble lobby. Everyone turned, including the armed man. In that split second of distraction, James moved with surprising agility for a CEO, tackling the man while Marcus vaulted over the desk, pulling the receptionist to safety. Lily, startled by the commotion, looked up from her drawing. Marcus signed frantically, "Stay down. Don't move, The security team burst into the lobby, responding to the silent alarm. Within moments, they had subdued the man, discovering he carried not only a gun but a note demanding access to the bank's main vault. When it was over, when the police had taken statements and the would-be robber was in custody, James Wilson approached Marcus, who held Lily tightly in his arms. "Thank you," James said, signing simultaneously. Not many people would have understood, let alone acted. Marcus shrugged. When you're responsible for someone else's life, you learn to act first and process later. James smiled, kneeling to Lily's level. "Your dad is a hero," he signed to her. "I know," she signed back confidently, making both men laugh. 3 days later, Marcus received a call from Meridian Financial. His loan had been approved, with terms far more favorable than he'd hoped for. Additionally, James Wilson wanted to meet with him again. This time, when Marcus and Lily entered Meridian Financial, they were escorted directly to the top floor. James greeted them both with signs instead of words, delighting Lily. "I've been thinking," James said after they were seated, signing as he spoke. "Our foundation has been looking to expand into new areas of community support. What would you think about heading up a program teaching basic sign language to local businesses?" Marcus stared in disbelief. "Me? I'm just a woodworker." "You're also a father who's navigated a world not built for your daughter. That experience is invaluable." James slid a folder across the desk. "This would be part-time, allowing you to grow your woodworking business. The foundation would provide resources for childcare when needed." As Marcus reviewed the proposal, he felt a weight lifting, the constant pressure of being everything for Lily, of stretching himself thin trying to be both provider and caregiver. "Why?" Marcus asked finally. James was quiet for a moment. "My brother has been deaf since birth. Growing up, I watched how isolated he felt when people couldn't communicate with him. When I saw you and Lily in the lobby that day, I recognized that same isolation, but also the incredible bond it created between you." He paused. "Then, in a moment of crisis, our ability to communicate silently saved lives. Imagine what could happen if more people had that ability." 6 months later, Marcus stood before a group of local business owners, teaching them basic sign language phrases for customer service. His woodworking shop was thriving in its new location, where he employed 2 part-time assistants, both with hearing impairments. Lily attended a school with a strong program for deaf and hard-of-hearing students, thriving in an environment that celebrated rather than accommodated her. And James Wilson? He had become a regular visitor to Marcus's workshop, learning woodworking while sharing stories about his brother. Their friendship had blossomed from those few tense moments in the bank lobby, a reminder that sometimes life's most meaningful connections arise from its most challenging moments. The security footage from that day became part of Meridian Financial's training program, a powerful example of how communication transcends barriers. The silent conversation that saved lives became a catalyst for a community initiative that opened doors for dozens of hearing-impaired individuals. Sometimes, in the quiet moments at his workbench, Marcus would reflect on how differently things might have turned out if he hadn't understood those subtle hand movements. "Help me, he has a weapon." How one moment of recognition had rippled outward, creating opportunities and connections that neither he nor James could have imagined. It was a powerful reminder that the languages we learn, the skills we develop to care for those we love, prepare us in ways we can never anticipate for moments that define us. If this story touched you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more inspiring tales of human connection. Every week, we bring you stories that remind us how unexpected moments can change lives forever. Your support helps us continue sharing these messages of hope and courage with our growing community.